that we can meet again. And thank you for joining me as we summarize this week's lesson. Lesson number 6. The title, Laying Up Treasures in Heaven. I found the title a little bit intriguing because it made me think, how can I, a physical person in a physical world with physical things, how can I lay treasures in heaven? Heaven's all the way up there, and it's a spiritual realm. Well, if you're interested in knowing, we're going to discover this week, how other people have done it before us. The main Bible verse for this week is in Mark 8:36 and 37. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? That's a very powerful verse. The verse is actually telling us that there's nothing more important in this world than our life. On Sunday, we reviewed the life of Noah. Actually, we went to Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 to 14. And we see in this chapter how God is talking to Noah and telling him, Noah, I see the earth full of violence and corruption. I am going to destroy the earth by sending water, and the floods will fill the earth. I want you to build an ark of safety for you and your family. It had never rained before. The scientists of those days will never agree with what Noah said. There was nothing that would hinder him or discourage him from building the ark. Why? Because he believed that what God told him was actually going to happen. Sunday had an interesting question, and it went like this. How ready would you be to make a major change in your life if God asked you? Monday, Abraham, the father of the faith. Another man that laid treasures in heaven. How? Well, Genesis 12:1-3 says that one day God told Abraham, I want you to leave your country behind. I want you to leave your culture behind, your family, your friends, your neighbors. And I want you to go and migrate to a place that I'm going to show you. Actually, God said, you will inherit that place. I will give you that land to you and your children. Abraham was 75 years old. He could have easily said, but Lord, all my family's here. My father, my grandparents, my roots are here. My life is here. How can I leave this behind? The Bible actually tells us that Abraham packed his bags and left his country. There's an interesting contrast between the life of Abraham and Noah. You see, Noah, it took him 120 years to build the ark. But eventually he went into the ark. The ark actually protected him and his family and brought him to safety after the flood. On the other hand, Abraham, his son Isaac, and his grandson Jacob never saw the land that God had promised them. So it begs the question, how come Abraham didn't give up on his faith? Come, let's read what Hebrews 11, verses 8-13 says. Hebrews says, because he looked for a city which had foundations and whose builder and maker was God himself. He understood that the physical Canaan was not the ultimate heritage. Isn't that beautiful? It's just amazing the lessons that we can get when we read our Bible. Tuesday, Lot's bad decisions. Who was Lot? Lot was Abraham's nephew. In Genesis 13:10-12 says that Lot looked at the plain of Jordan. It was well watered. It actually says that it looked like Eden. And he dwelt in the cities of the plain, the cities that were so close to Sodom and Gomorrah. What lessons can we draw from this? The first lesson that I can find is there is a difference between living in the country and the city. It seems like the choice that Lot made to live in the cities of the plain actually was not such a great idea for his family. Eventually, the story tells us that he lost everything. He went into the city of the plains extremely wealthy. And when he came out with nothing except with 2 of his daughters. The rest of his family was burned in Sodom and Gomorrah. What a powerful lesson for us parents. The decisions we make today will affect the future of our children. And there's another lesson that we can draw from this story. The first thing Abraham did was physically go and save Lot when he was captured. Then the second thing that Abraham did was pray, intercede for his nephew so that God would save him. The personal lesson I took from this is the importance of interceding for someone else. Wednesday's lesson is the importance of taking the time one-on-one with God. You know, some of us plan, like Jacob, he planned to have personal time with God alone. But some of us don't plan, like Saul. Remember the one that became Paul? He didn't plan. He was running away from Christ. He didn't want this one-on-one time with him. But Christ intercepted his life so that he can come face to face with God. Genesis 32:22-31. It says that Jacob planned to have this encounter with God. He sent his family on one side and he went to the other side on his own. You see, there comes a time in each one of our lives where there's only space for me and God. And this is the time where I can open my heart to him. And as Jacob was praying and opening his heart to God, he prayed, Lord, I'm sick and tired of my life. I don't want to be a deceiver. I'm sick and tired of being a sinner. And he knows that this is the chance that he needs. And Jacob says, I won't let you go unless you bless me. And Jesus asks, what's your name? And he says, Deceiver. My name is Deceiver. My name is Jacob. But I don't want to be Jacob anymore. They won't call you Jacob anymore. They will call you Israel. Thursday's lesson was powerful. In Hebrews 11:24-29 tells us that Moses, if you read verse 26, is esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. In other words, it says that Moses compared. He compared what God was offering him. And on the other hand, he compared the wealth of Egypt, the education of Egypt, the prestige that Egypt could bring to his life. Moses takes the physical, what he can see, what he can touch, the here and the now. And he compares it with the promise of tomorrow. He doesn't see it, he doesn't touch it, but by faith, he appreciates it. Remember the memory verse. What profit? What will it profit a man if he gains all of Egypt, but he loses his soul? The only way I can lay treasures in heaven is by faith. Because the heritage that God promises his people, it's not in this world. Thank you, and see you next week.